that's easier said than done, but, try not to be hard on yourself and try and find people that understand, even though they might not get it, makes a difference. My name is Praveen Sudharshan. I'm 22 years old. My main focus at the moment is I'm a music producer and DJ. I make a lot of electronic music, incorporating a lot of orchestral and natural sounds. Been doing that for about a good 5 years now. My hope's to get into chiropractic medicine and be able to practice that as well one day alongside with music. So that's what I do as well. Pretty out there, wanted to have a lot of friends, wanted to soak up as much attention as I could. Was not good at sport at all. I was always the last kid to get picked for sport. Couldn't kick a soccer ball to save my life. I read a lot. My parents got me into reading, so I used to read a lot of books. So, I was a 10-year-old kid who was reading books like Mein Kampf and stuff that kids shouldn't be reading. But I was that sort of kid. I was kind of a bit of a bookworm. Always worked hard at school. Always wanted to do really well in school. I can honestly say that even when I was very, very young, I'm talking like maybe 7 or 8, I knew that there was something that wasn't right. There'd be times where I'd feel kind of crappy and a bit down. But obviously I didn't know what, things like depression or anxiety were, let alone the phrase mental health. So, and then progressively over time, it kind of just got worse and worse and worse, until the point where it was like, okay, I need help. When I first wanted to become a DJ, I think I was about 14 years old. I was in the middle of school holidays. I think it was the summer break. Wasn't really doing much. I didn't really have many friends. I didn't really do anything socially. Still was horrible at sport. I think I weighed about 42, 43 kilos. And I was just on my dad's laptop one day, and I came across a video of David Guetta DJing at some show in Paris, and I thought it was really cool. Then I started diving into it a bit more. When I first told my parents I wanted to be a DJ, they were like, no way in hell. And then eventually, once I started branching off into it, obviously when you're in school, kids like to make fun of anything and everything. So there was that. The main thing for me was being able to source decks and being able to save up money to buy equipment. So, for the first couple of years, I was bedroom DJing off virtual DJ, trying to learn as much as I could. So, definitely the earliest struggles were actually being able to make, the financial investment and also find the confidence in myself to actually pursue it. Well, I met lots of other DJs at house parties and stuff like that. I was only 14, 15. And then I eventually ended up meeting, people such as, I had a few teachers in school who were really supportive of it. And there were just other things. And then slowly I began to meet more and more people. And eventually some opportunities opened up. And then I think by the time those opportunities opened up, my family and everyone was like, okay, this seems like something you could do. So I was in my final year of school. So in my final year of school, I had quite a bit of money saved up. I was working for my dad on the weekends at his business. I pumped everything I had into decks and speakers and lights and stuff like that. Pretty much DJ'd every year 12 house party I had at my high school. Pretty much either for free or for next to nothing, just so I could get myself out there. And then not long after, I started learning how to produce on a laptop as well. And yeah. It was September 21st of 2016. I got accepted to study business at the University of Wollongong. So I used to commute, because I used to live out in Camden, so I used to commute from Camden to Wollongong almost every day for classes. I was driving on Picton Road one day. It was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It had been raining, and for those who are familiar with the road, of Picton Road, there's a bend that comes across where the Welcome to Wollongong sign is, and I was coming down that bend, and I was doing about 100 kilometers an hour, sitting there listening to the radio, minding my own business, and a car in the opposite lane loses control and comes over onto my side, and I collided with them whilst I was doing 100 kilometers an hour. I think the combined total force was about 160 to 180 kilometers an hour. So I ended up spinning out into a ditch. I wasn't knocked out, surprisingly, but I broke my nose, I fractured a few ribs, had some whiplash in my neck, and was in a pretty bad state, and I've spent the last 3-4 years recovering from that. Well, the thing is, I was actually officially diagnosed by a doctor with clinical depression at 14. I'd struggled with it for a while, especially during high school. It took me about a good 2 years to kind of learn, through therapy, through medication, and through support, how to deal with it. And, I was just taking, a regular dose of Zoloft every day, and that was it. At that time, I wasn't in therapy. I was functioning. I was, from the outset, you probably wouldn't have looked at that guy and said, oh, he's got something, he's got a mental illness. After the accident, I developed chronic pain and I guess you can consider nerve damage and trauma to the brain. So now I'm on a multitude of antidepressants and anticonvulsants to help maintain my pain levels as well as my mental health. The way my pain specialist described it as is the issue with pain is that when you're in pain and the pain is persistent, it gets you down and you get depressed. And when you're depressed, you're more sensitive to that pain, so the pain becomes worse. And it just becomes this vicious cycle, and it's very hard to get out of. And the unfortunate thing is that, when you have chronic pain, if somebody has a headache generally, you knock down a Nurofen tablet or a Panadol tablet and you take it, and that's fine for them. But, for anyone that suffers from any chronic conditions, there's only so much those sorts of medications can do. And I ended up developing a dependence on opioids. And I just remember there were points where there are even like months of my life I genuinely cannot remember. I was so zigged out of it. The first signs were after the accident, I began to make a lot of faux pas and say a lot of inappropriate things without realizing what I was saying was inappropriate. And I think a lot of it came down to being on the opioids, the trauma, and just the PTSD of the accident. And then eventually got to the point where I couldn't even sleep without popping an opioid pill because the pain was that bad, or I just could not sleep because of the pain. And I ended up having an accidental overdose December 2018. Had to drive myself to Cameron Hospital and get them to hook me up with an IV drip so that they could filter my blood. It's been pretty difficult mental health wise, because on top of the mental health symptoms, I've also got neurological symptoms as well, which is pain and struggles with my thought process and my cognition. So it's kind of just like, you're fighting 3 things at once. I mean, it's honestly okay to just say, I need help, or to just say the pain is too much. I mean, I feel like, there might be people out there that probably, and I had this thought for a very long time. I thought, look, I don't have something serious like, cancer. I'm not terminally ill. It's just pain, And I've had people tell me that. They're like, it's just pain, get over it and, snap out of it. But the thing is, it's that, when a human being feels pain, it's a protective response. But the thing is, when that response is over-heightened through trauma, it becomes a lot more difficult to deal with, and your body's not able to switch it off. So, sometimes I think just being kind to yourself and just saying, okay, if I'm in bed and I'm really sore, just, if you can, take the day off, just sleep it out. And I know it's frustrating. Like, there are days where if I've had a flare-up with my pain, I'm in bed, I think, I was supposed to go to the gym today, I was supposed to do this, supposed to do that, and now I'm just stuck in bed. That's easier said than done, but, try not to be hard on yourself and try and find people that understand, even though they might not get it, it makes a difference. And, the plan for me once I finished school was I was going to go complete a 3-year university degree, move to the city, start working, and just do music on the side and just see what happens. If something happened with music, great. If not, I'd have, a career and, the usual life that everyone had. But after the accident, I kind of realized that A, I didn't really want that, and B, I wasn't going to have that, at least for a very long time. So then after the accident, I was like, well, I can't really do much in terms of studying and work and stuff like that. So with a lot of my spare time, I just devoted it to trying making music and learning different things. A huge factor for me was to remove a lot of people that made things toxic for me and were bringing me down. I've definitely learned to surround myself with people who are 100% there for you, if I'm willing to do 100% for somebody, they should be willing to do the same. And if they're not, then they're just simply not worth your time to be around. When I first realized that, it was extremely heartbreaking, because a lot of people I had known my entire life, people I was related to, people who I was friends with, I slowly realized that those people weren't right for me, and that they weren't okay. And I guess once I was able to cut those out, because like I said before, a lot of people would just tell me, "Oh, it's just pain, get over it." That just makes things worse. It doesn't help anyone, and it wasn't helping me. So cutting those people out and cutting out those negative, vibes has been crucial. Pretty much it's just about keeping my stress levels down as much as I can. And when my stress levels do go up, it's learning to understand that this is normal and that this is okay, and that, I don't have to, think too drastically about things. When I was first diagnosed about 8 years ago, there was nowhere near as much help and as much support as there is now. I mean, I remember 8 years ago trying to tell people about it, that I wasn't feeling okay. But now, there's so many things like Smash the Science, Headspace, so many musicians and actors and people are getting around it, saying, we need to talk about mental health. It's just fantastic. Nowadays, there's a lot more support, and, the movement's slowly growing. So if you ever do feel, you're not okay, even if you're just having a bad day, you can talk to somebody about it.